It's time for another closer look at a key Kentucky Derby contender.
What is going on, everybody? I am Mike Somich for RacingDudes.com, and we have Mark Cornett from C2 Racing Stables and a special guest here in the background there. That is White Abarrio. Mark is one of the co-owners here with his brother of White Abarrio. Got a huge race coming up this weekend, obviously, with the Kentucky Derby. Mark, thank you very much for joining us again.
Absolutely.
So I obviously you're in Kentucky. You're right there by White Abarrio. How's he doing? His last workout was amazing. We'll get to that in a second. But how's he handled the transition from Florida to Kentucky?
Boy, I'll tell you, really couldn't be doing any better. He shipped up here perfect. Walked off the van yesterday morning about 4:30. Ate up all his feed last night and had a nice, day of rest yesterday. And went to the track early this morning when the Derby and Oaks horses went. And luckily we avoided the rain and missed that. Went around there, jogged a mile and came back. Had a nice bath, and right now you see him in his stall. He's eating his hay.
Yeah, he looks like a happy horse back there, making a couple little noises behind you. How did he handle the track this morning? It's his first time going around Churchill's main track. Did he seem to like it? Was there any issues?
No issues. In fact, he was just gliding over the mud. He seemed to really enjoy it. Had his ears pricked the whole time, and I actually had several trainers come up to me that saw him. This morning, they said, boy, he sure looked happy and sure like he liked the mud. So that's just in case it rains Saturday. It's sure a good thing to hear.
Yeah, I was about to ask you that there. Obviously, there's quite a few good mud pedigrees in the Derby. It's interesting. We've seen more and more sires in the U.S. come from very good mud sires, turn out to be very great sires. Obviously, you have the Into Mischief line in there who loves mud as well. You have no concern if we have some rain on Saturday?
Well, there's always a concern. He's never run in the mud in a race, that's or worked in it for that matter. We've tried to avoid that. That's why we worked after the 10th race at Gulfstream. They were nice enough to let us do that so we could avoid the bad track that morning. But, I really don't have any concerns. This is a smart horse. He likes running. He likes racing. So I don't see any reason why he wouldn't handle it. And he moves the right kind of way on the track. So he's very efficient as well.
I love hearing that he skipped over it this morning. That's one of those things that you're looking for from a mud horse. Those light feet, right, where you want to just kind of glide right over that right. Track. You mentioned the workout at Gulfstream. I mean, that was a buzz workout. We had a ton of people talk about how wonderful White Abarrio looked. Did everything go well there? Is there any comments you have around that workout and how he's doing from that front?
No, I mean, Saffie was just ecstatic about the work. He breezed around, a half mile and a little over 48, but the gallop out was really impressive. He did everything the right way, came out of the work perfect, ate up. We think we're in a good position physically and mentally with the horse, and it's a horse race, so we think we've got as good a shot as anybody in there.
I was doing I did a Road to the Kentucky Derby for White Abarrio on the Racing Dudes YouTube page, and I had seen his first race, but I had never. I really went back and dissected it. It was a really, really impressive race. You mentioned the head that White Abarrio has. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I mean, that first race, you're 6.5 furlongs, breaks from the one post, doesn't break great, catches kickback, splits horses, and still able to run on and look really professional. Do you think that's one of your biggest strengths heading into this race?
I do. I mean, it's a lot different the way he ran in that race compared to a horse that broke sharp, made the lead early, and went around there on the front end. A big difference as far as experience-wise and really gauging what kind of mind the horse has. Most horses, they'll go to the front and run and try to kick away, but this horse, again, he did it out of the one hole. He did it inside of horses. And like you said, he did not break that sharp. I mean, he was almost dead last from the one hole, and nothing seemed to bother him in the race at all. So we're expecting a similar trip that we had in the Florida Derby here with the 15. We wanted the 14 post. We got the 15, which is fine, close enough. And we think we have more tactical speed than the horses to our outside, so we should be positioned well forward in the race, and hopefully we're clear on the outside.
Now, when you mentioned you wanted the 14, can you go into that a little bit deeper? I mean, I found that really interesting. You generally want those 5 to 10 posts, so it's interesting you wanted to be a little bit further outside. What made you kind of gravitate toward that 14 spot?
Well, my main thing is giving the horse his best chance to run. I don't want to take any chances. I'd rather be 3 wide, 4 wide, then 2 wide, buried in behind a bunch of horses down on the inside. It's just, I think Jerry Bailey told me one time the biggest key to riding a horse is having him in space and in the clear, and giving him the best chance to run.
Well, especially with a field of 23-year-olds where you don't always know what everyone else is going to do. You've got a couple horses here. I mean, Charge It and Taba both making their 3rd starts or 4th starts respectively. So obviously a little green still with those 2 horses coming out of it. Let's talk a little about the Florida Derby. So it was the widest we've seen White Abarrio on the first turn. And then he came home a little bit slower than he had in the past, running about 13.4 or 13 4/5 for the final furlong there. Any concern about how that last furlong went? Do you think some of the trouble early took it out of him?
No, I think it was a couple of things. First of all, it's very difficult at Gulfstream to win going 4 wide on the first turn and then 3 or 4 wide on the second turn. Horses just don't do that.
Yep.
It's, at any level. Number 2, I think people aren't understanding what he did in the 3rd quarter of the race between the half-mile pole and the 3/4 pole. The horse actually, if you go by Trackus, the horse actually went 109 and 4 for 6 furlongs. If you take into account the how many lengths he lost going wide on the turn, and he had to do it. It was kind of an odd race how it shaped up. You had Classic Causeway go out there and kind of be a rabbit for the 1st quarter, and then you had Simplification and Cassie's horse, the other horse, go up there down the backside and keep pressing the pace. So they actually ran 3 sub-24 quarters, and he had to move into a fast pace. Tyler did to keep his position and keep Charge It where he wanted Charge It. So the race flow and the race shape had is a big reason why, if you go back and you look at what you're talking about, the way they finished in the race, it wasn't only him.
Yeah.
Every horse in the race didn't finish. Okay.
Yeah, and
it wasn't just him.
And you bring up a great point. You bring up a great point about the internal fractions too. I mean, they went quick in the middle of that race, which makes it a lot harder to be able to really burst home. And one thing I loved about that race, you mentioned him facing a little more adversity, going 4 wide, going 3 wide, and still being really professional down the lane. And you could tell the difference between Charge It and White Abarrio, where White Abarrio just running straight as an arrow, changes leads right away, and Charge It kind of a little goofy behind him, going in and out a little bit. So tell me, what trip do you mentioned you're okay with 4 wide. What do you kind of expect from that early pace? I mean, you've got Classic Causeway in the 17. You got to think he's going. Summer is tomorrow is in the 4. He's shown speed, but we don't know if he's fast enough yet. Where do you kind of think White Abarrio is going to be sitting on that first turn, and what would you be happy with?
Well, we'll be happy if he's sitting 3rd or 4th. I mean, if we could save some ground, if we're sitting 3 wide, tracking, I think Epicenter in the 3 hole with Rosario, he's going to be riding Echo Zulu the day before, and she's got one way to go. He's coming off of riding Nick's Go in the past. He's had a lot of success in these big races. Going into the front end, I'm not so sure they want 6, 7, 8, 10 horses in front of him coming out of the 3 hole. So I think he may show more speed than you're thinking. And then Classic Causeway from the outside, he's got no choice but to get over. And so I think if that happens, we might be able to let Classic Causeway clear us and just track him all the way down, all the way around to the first turn, and then see where we're at. And hopefully that Zozos or Cyberknife, I don't think they got as much early speed as we do or we can show. And they're wider than us too, and I don't think they're going to want to get on 5, 6, 7 wide. So I think we can be sitting 3rd or 4th, 2, 3 links off of it, and get a nice trip here. That's the goal.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, just keeping him in space is really important here. Like you mentioned with the Jerry Bailey quote before, even if you have to go a couple wide, I think Tyler would love to just have a shot to make first run on those leaders coming around that far turn, make everybody try and catch you, right?
The other thing is there's no runoffs in this race, okay? So there's no sprinters. They're coming out of sprint races. There's nobody I don't think is going to try to go crazy here. If Rosario does make the lead out of the inside, he's not going to be going 45 and change or something like that. And Classic Causeway's not going to be pushing him either. So
yeah, it's interesting when you look at the pace. The fastest half mile, I believe it's 46.71 so far for any prep race, and that would be the 4th slowest Derby half mile we've seen since the introduction of the point system. And there's really isn't a ton of horses that want to fly early and try and just tire everybody out. So it should play toward horses that are able to kind of stalk and pounce, just like White Abarrio.
Yeah, there's a lot of horses. There's probably 5 or 6 horses in the race that have the same running style. So I expect that second flight of horses is going to be log jammed in there. And I'd like to be just ahead of the second flight of horses.
I think that's where the trip trouble is going to come from. It's that second flight, and whether or not you can work out a trip behind that speed is going to be really key. And so it sounds like you guys are going to try and be a little more forwardly placed so you don't have to deal with that logjam there.
Exactly.
Now, you guys are going for the traditional. I mean, Saffie's, this is his, I believe it's his second Derby horse, and he's trying to have that kind of traditional 3 races as a 3-year-old prep right into the Derby to run your big effort on the third off the layoff. Do you expect the best effort we've seen from White Abarrio here in the Derby? Do you think that 3-race progression is going to work out?
Yeah, I mean, we've had this planned since he ran in the Jockey Club. This was our whole plan: running the Holy Bull, then the Florida Derby, and having Pekin for the Kentucky Derby. And luckily, we think we're there. I'm a big Ragusan sheet guy, and he's coming off of paired 8s on the Ragusan sheets, which is a very good sign to move forward. There's 2 horses that are really set up to move forward, and that's Messier and us. If you're a Ragusan sheet person, we're both coming off of paired 8s, basically. The other horses that are probably going to be lower odds than us, they're all coming off of actually a lifetime top race. So there's a good chance, again, going back to the Ragusan sheet theory, that they could bounce off that race. McGonigal ran his best race. Zandon ran his best race. Cybernaut ran his best race, all coming off a lifetime top. No guarantee they will. They could move forward. They're still improving 3-year-olds. But the one thing I do know is we're on the third start off of the layoff, and we're coming off of paired numbers, and we have a high percentage chance to move forward. If we do move forward 2 or 3 lengths, then you're talking about running a 4 to 5 Ragusan number. You're talking about running a 102 to 105 buyer number, which should put us right there at the wire.
Yep, I agree, and I love the draw too. I mean, you mentioned Zandon, you mentioned McGonigal. We talked a little bit about the pace. Both of them are probably going to be a little up against it here. I mean, McGonigal, especially breaking from that 1. I mean, the new gate helps a little bit, but if you watch Known Agenda last year, the wave of horses that came over on him made it really, really tough for him to make any type of move. Zandon's going to kind of come from the back of the pack. Obviously, I'm sure you're going to pick White Abarrio. You'll be rooting for White Abarrio on race day. Do you think that it's going to be really tough for the closers with the lack of pace? Are you expecting the winner to kind of come from that mid-flight? Where do you think the most likely spot for the winner to come from is?
Actually, I think there's about 5 horses that can win the race, 6, and it's really whoever gets the best, clearest trip and fires on the day. Sometimes these horses don't fire.
Yep.
And if all those horses fire that should fire, I think you could have 4 horses within a length and a half at the wire, to be honest, in this race. Whereas in the past, when you had a Justify or American Pharaoh or one of those type of horses in here, which I don't believe there is, I think it's going to be a really tight finish, and whoever got the trip and got to run the way they wanted to is probably going to be your winner.
I agree with you. I don't think we have one of those generational type horses in here. It's going to be tough for a Triple Crown winner to come out of this class. Are you guys, so on the Triple Crown front, is there any plans for Preakness or Derby, assuming we come out of this race well? Are we kind of, what's your idea with the horse moving forward? And then what do you think you're going to look like for the rest of the year's campaign?
Yeah, I've kind of got something mapped out for him. Obviously, it depends how we run here. If he runs good, and he comes out of the race good, we would probably definitely look at the Preakness Stakes. I'm not a fan of New York, so he's going to have to be on the Triple Crown trail for us probably to run at Belmont.
Okay.
And other than that, the big races we have pointed to is going to be we might look at the Travers at some point and see the Breeders' Cup, but the main goal next year is going to be the Pegasus, kind of setting him up for that race in the Pegasus next year at Gulfstream at his home track, so we can lead him over there. We already know he likes the track. It's his home track. It's going to give him some spacing, more time to mature, and then we'll have a lot of flexibility after that race, so we can see where we're at. And if we wanted to go to Saudi Arabia or Dubai, it gives us a good gauge on where we're at.
Excellent. So it sounds like we will see White Abarrio as a 4-year-old, assuming everything goes smoothly then.
Absolutely, that's the goal. There's enough purse money out there now, not like 25 years ago. You'd see him go straight into breeding shed, but now you've got $20 million, $10 million races to run in, so you can actually earn it out on the racetrack your horse stays sound. And the way White Abarrio is built, he's 16 one hands. He's very good conformation. He's a great mover. He's athletic. So he's the type of horse that hopefully, knock on wood, that'll stay sound, and we can get a year or two out of racing. 15 races out of him, 10 races out of him, and get a chance to run for some of this big purse money.
Well, that's awesome. That's great to hear. I love to see more of these horses run at 4 and run at 5. We'd have some absolutely amazing matchups if we had some of these horses stick around for a couple more years. It'd be great to see them going. So that's awesome to hear about White Abarrio and kind of the future plans with him there. We've seen him in the background during this interview. He's been super calm. Is there any personality quirks with him? Does he have, is he a friendly horse? Will he kind of come at you if you get a little close? Tell us a little bit more about his personality.
No, he's friendly. He's friendly. He loves looking at people. He loves cameras, actually. Every time he hears a click, his ears prick up, and he kind of turns towards the camera. So he's kind of a camera hound, actually.
Nice. Do you have any concern about the crowd on Saturday? Obviously, it's going to be the biggest crowd he's seen. Florida Derby, obviously a pretty big crowd as well, but doesn't quite compare to the Kentucky Derby. Sounds like he likes the camera, so that shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, not with this horse. I mean, there's, we got plenty of horses in the past and in the barn that I would be concerned, but this horse, he's just so professional. He takes it all in. He's all business. And we're actually going to school him. He'll go to the track tomorrow and gallop 1.5 miles, and then he'll school behind the gate, in the gate, just to get used to so the crew here, the gate crew, can get used to him and work with him a little bit behind the gate. And then the next day after that, Thursday, he'll go back and gallop 1.5 miles again. And then Friday, he'll go to the track and either gallop 1 mile or 1.5 miles, depending on what Saffie decides.
So we're definitely going to see him in the slop a little bit here for the rest of the week, just to kind of get a little more of a gauge.
So. Yeah, and he only jogged today, so tomorrow, if the track's muddy again, we'll get a better gauge on him. But I really don't have any concerns. He just kind of floats over the ground. If you go back and watch that work at Gulfstream, you'll see that he was, even when he was jogging back with a pony, just how smooth and light on his feet he is. So.
Excellent. Well, Mark, thank you very much for taking the time. I know it's a wildly busy week for you. Well, we got you here. Tell us where we can find C2 Racing Stables on Twitter, or check out more information on the web.
We sure can. We're on Twitter, C2 Racing Stables, and we've been posting videos and some different things. And in fact, we had we showed him walking in the shed row yesterday, and we've already got like 15,000 views on it, which we're pretty happy about.
Pretty amazing, man. Well, make sure you tell us how he does over the slop. If you want to post a video of that, that'd be awesome. I'm sure the viewers would love to see that as well over the weekend as that story kind of continues to develop. Thank you very much again for all the information, and thank you for having our guest star, White Abarrio, with us here. All the best of luck on Saturday. I hope you can get that Derby trophy.
Me too, and look forward to seeing you. I know you guys are coming down here to Kentucky at Churchill, so hopefully we get to see you.
Yeah, for sure. We'll have to grab a beer together, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mike.
All right, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us. I've been Mike Somich for RaceNews.com. We got Mark Cornett right over here with C2 Racing Stable, and one of my Derby favorites here, White Abarrio, right behind him. Hopefully we can get a victory on Saturday. Make sure to check out the YouTube page for all continued Derby content, and good luck this weekend.
All right, thanks, Mike.
Take care.
This has been a presentation of RacingDudes.com, your destination for all things horse racing and sports betting. Whether you want free winners, expert insider picks, up-to-the-minute trackside weather reports, or podcasts and videos for bettors of all skill levels, never make another wager without visiting the Racing Dudes. First,